Blogs as an internet tool are deepening. They are no longer just textual accounts organized by date. They are hyperlinked, multimedia, interactive, viral, networked, and global. Blogs are one of the earliest forms of digital social media. In 2001, when the CBC asked journalist and activist Judy Rebick to write an online column, she discovered the power of this new medium.
And they asked me to write a column, and I wrote on the war in Kosovo. And I was against the war in Kosovo, and I was probably the only mainstream Western, I guess, journalist that was against it. And I got 200 emails. I was completely stunned by it because I wrote columns all the time, and I never got that kind of mails. I started to think, wow, this would be a really good medium for an alternative newspaper.
She traveled across Canada, organizing meetings in every city with young people under 30.
And in that trip, I started to get some idea of what I was getting into, because all the young people said, if it's not interactive, we're not interested.
Even if you watch the news today, like channels like CBC, CNN, they all regularly have segments where they talk about what's going on their Twitter feeds or what's going on in their Facebook feeds.
I think Twitter and blogging is a great way just because we can't always connect to people around the world right away.
This is very important in terms of thinking about social media now. The answer I always got, and it was consistent right across the country, was I like to know what other people like me think.
I guess the main thing that I use is Twitter, for interviews mostly.
Post 9/11, Walter Cronkite noted that the press was not aggressive in fighting for information around the war in Afghanistan. And in 2003, the New York Times acknowledged that their coverage was not as rigorous as it should have been. Audiences searching for critiques of traditional media turned to the internet and to bloggers.
It was amazing because we had so many different perspectives on what happened on 9/11, rather than just having the Western media, which was very different. I knew that myself, but also having people translate from other media. And they were just doing that on their own without getting paid, right? But we had an amazing diversity of perspective.
Witnesses to the Paris riots, the London bombings, and more recently the Mumbai terrorist attacks shared immediate details with audiences by posting photos, tweets, and cell phone clips to blogs.
Social media, or what you're calling blogging, it's a kind of megaphone for independent media. Like the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning now is I look at Twitter. I don't look at the Globe and Mail. I look at Twitter because then I get stuff from The Guardian, I get stuff from all over the world.
Global Voices, a project that harnesses the power of social media, is a community of 200 global citizens who report stories not ordinarily heard in the mainstream.
I would like to believe that Global Voices has helped mainstream media learn to trust this media a bit more. It was notable last year in June when the Iran election, the post-election demonstrations took place, and journalists were barred from covering Iran. How everybody gravitated to Twitter because that's the only source material they had, and that's what we've been doing for various countries and situations for the past 4 years. And I think the citizen media is also just kind of matured to a point where it's so ubiquitous. I mean, the tools are so easy to use. A lot of people are on Twitter. I mean, sure, it's not everybody, but that has now become a real credible source, and they're also journalists using it.
Rising Voices grew out of the Global Voices project and helped to increase participation from remote areas. As technology filters to remote areas, the recognition for multiple voices takes root.
We like to talk about, as opposed to the digital divide, we like to talk about the participation gap. I think that one of the rude awakenings that journalism has had, in the last 2 years is that the issue of relevance. The one sector in the US of journalism that's growing is ethnic media, because ethnic media continues to be relevant to the communities it serves. There's a need for greater diversity. I think international reporting is another area where we can actually make a difference.
While marginalized voices gain access to expression, they resist images of themselves depicted by others, and small but societal transformations begin.